Okay, so we got some news for the MLB and the MLB Players Association. They have agreed to health protocols in terms of 7 inning doubleheaders and runners on second base to start extra innings, which will return for a second straight season. Um, After allowing 16 teams in the postseason last year instead of 10, MLB has proposed 14 for this year before withdrawing the plan last month. So I'm pretty sure there's not going to be an extended playoffs like there was last year. The deal did not include last year's experimental rule to extend the designated hitter to the National League or expand the playoffs. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be an extended playoffs this year. There were 78 extra inning games last year, and the longest by innings were a pair of 13-inning contests that Houston won by the Dodgers on July 29th and by Oakland on August 7th. Every previous season since 1901 had at least one game of 15 innings or longer. And this was reported by ESPN Associated Press. So, you know what, Mario? I'm going to start with this one, okay? I'm going to tell you how I feel about this. I like it, but I don't. Now, let me explain myself. The seven-inning doubleheaders, I love that idea, and here's why. When you play a pair of 9-inning games in a day, you know how much that takes out of you? Playing everybody talks about how boring to watch baseball is, and yeah, it can be boring to watch. I'll admit, as a baseball player, I like to play rather than watch it. But there's so much that goes into play. You're running around in an outfield that has a depth of like 200, sometimes depending on what park you're playing, 300 feet. Every dimension varies, whatever, depending on what field of ballpark you play. So you're running around a lot. You're running the bases from home plate to first, 90 feet. First to second, second to third to home, it's all 90 feet. And don't get me started on the pitchers and catchers. Those guys go through a lot. So to have 7-inning doubleheaders, I like that idea. Now, you may be wondering, oh, you're getting rid of 4 innings. Yeah. 1 inning takes so much out of one player. So they get rid of 4 of them in 2 games. It's a good idea. I really do think it is. Here's what I don't think is a good idea. The runners on second base in the 10th inning. Now, I understand why they're doing this. It's for time reasons. But I feel like that takes away from the game. Because if you look at the game of baseball, unlike compared to every other sport, soccer, basketball, hockey, football, there's one thing that they have that baseball doesn't. That's a time clock. The only thing that there is timed in baseball is the amount of time a pitcher gets to stand on the mound before releasing the ball, the warm-ups in between each inning, and the warm-ups the pitchers come out from the bullpen. That's it. Everything else is just decided on what you do in that time. There is no time clock for us to play the game of baseball. You just play it until someone wins. So my thinking is like I don't like the runner on second base rule. I hate that rule. And I don't hate a lot of things. It's not healthy to have hate in your heart. I hate this rule. I think they need to abolish it. I really do. I don't like this rule whatsoever. It takes away from the fun of the game of baseball. It really does. And again, I understand why they're doing it for time, but I don't like it. I really don't. But as for the 7-inning doubleheaders, I absolutely love that idea. I really think that's a great idea because you think about it. Oh yeah, it's like some people are probably gonna be up here like, oh yeah, well you got one roster, oh no, not one roster. You got one lineup, you got another lineup for one game to the second game. Oh yeah, but think about it. They're gonna be a lot less winded in the comparison to playing 2 9-inning games in one day. Because then think about it. You go out to practice the next day, sometimes travel depending on if you're on a road trip or not for the next series. You know what I mean? Not to mention you gotta put in the factor of extra innings too. Because if one of those 9-inning games goes in the extra innings, guess what? You're getting even more winded. So to reduce the amount of innings for a doubleheader, I think that's a great idea because it gives you a lot more time to like sit down and rest and prepare yourself for the next game. But then in comparison to 2 9-inning games in one day, that's tiring. I can tell you firsthand experience that takes a lot out of you. As for the runner on second base and extra innings, I cannot stand that rule, and I really hope that next year they do not even consider this rule. So with that being said, Mario, I'll give it on to you now.
I mean, there's really not a lot I disagree with you on. Like, there really isn't. I'll start off with the 7 innings. I do agree with that. I think it's a good idea. At first, I was thinking to myself, but then I said to myself, you got to think of the athletes too, and how, like, despite how traditional baseball fans might want 9 innings, 7 innings might be the best way to go for the athlete's health in general. So I completely agree with that. The second base rule, I completely agree with that because then all it takes is one hit and the game is over, basically. You know what I'm saying? Or the other team would have to come up and It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And here's the thing though. Here's the thing though. A lot of people complain about baseball and how like time consuming it is and how boring it gets. But when you hit extra innings, that's when the game gets exciting.
Yeah, because then it decides who's
It's
going
the,
to win the game.
yeah, right. It's the anticipation of who's going to get this last one, who's going to hit this walk off, how's the game going to be ended. That's the anticipation of the game of baseball once it hits those extra innings. So to have a player automatically on second base, I really don't feel like you've accomplished anything. You know what I'm saying? Like even if they would have changed it to let's put somebody on first, it's a little better, but still, you really didn't accomplish nothing because you didn't earn that base. You didn't earn. I'm gonna be honest with you, Nate. It's not. I don't think it's hard, but it's not the easiest thing to get a double in the MLB.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? So the fact that you're just gonna automatically put someone on second base, it doesn't make any sense. So I completely agree with you on that. Um, the other thing I want to talk to you about, the other thing I don't like really, the other thing I don't like is the postseason, is the new postseason rule. They've gone from
Right.
10 to 16 to 14. Eventually, the MLB has to create a system where they're going to abide by. I get
Right.
it's COVID and everything, but you got to decide something. You got to finalize something into instead of continuing changing the postseason teams this year. What's next year going to be? What, 12? Is next year going to be 10, like 8, 16? We don't know because you keep on changing it. I think the MLB needs to figure out exactly what they want to do from this time forward. But I mean, going overall, everything you said, I mean, there's more dislikes. I'm going to be honest with you in this than there are likes for me personally. I'm not sure
Right.
about you, but for me, that's what it is. I dislike the second base rule absolutely. I feel like that shouldn't even be a thing. Okay, like I dislike the I dislike the rule about the playoffs and how many teams are in it now or the postseason because you don't have a stable postseason no more. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like NBA, they did 9 teams in the they went 19 or 13 teams in the East I think last year and then 9 in the West or something. Okay, that's cool. The next year they go back to 8 and 8. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah,
like
right.
the MLB, they gotta either go back to the way it was or they have to finalize something new. Because changing the amount of teams in the postseason is unnecessary. As for the 7 inning double headers, I like it, but then there's still a little there's still like a little feeling inside of me that's like, you know what, I want to see those 9 inning double headers again.
Yeah, right.
But I understand the fact that like 9 inning double headers really is gonna take a mount on somebody. I've worked like for my college. I've worked like for the school, and I've worked double headers, and I'm telling you like I don't even play the game, but I know it's tiring as hell.
Mm.
So like so I understand why they're going to 7 inning double headers. So I completely agree with that. Other than that, I feel like the MLB has to create a full like they have to permanently come up with a system that'll work.
Right.
But
And
I'm
I'm actually glad you brought up the playoffs. Because that's actually something I forgot to mention. Yeah, you're right, man. They gotta come up with something. I'm gonna be honest. I like the system they had last year. They had like everybody in a wild card round, and then it was almost like a hockey bracket. Like you know what I mean? Everybody starts off as a wild card team, and then you just go on from there. Except in unlike baseball, hockey has a full on seven best of seven series for everything.
right, but
But I don't think the MLB should do because like we said, baseball games can be very very long. I
right, and then but if you really think about it, here's the thing I always go to when I talk about baseball and basketball and hockey and all of them. The most watched playoffs out of all the sports right now, I want to say is probably football.
right.
Football or the World Cup. When the World Cup comes around, that's pretty important too. Those are the two I want to say are the most important. The reason why I think they're so watched is because there's only one game. You have one chance and that's
You have
it.
one chance and that's it. Right.
Now there's benefits to that and there's non-benefits to that. The
Drawbacks.
benefits to that is it's less games. You don't gotta continuously playing. The non-benefit to it is it doesn't really necessarily determine who's the actual better team.
Not only that, but you work so hard to get to that one spot only for you to have one game and
Which
lose.
is why here's the thing. I kind of like to be honest with you. I'd kind of like if the MLB changed it to get game a 5 game series for the whole thing. I would like that. I'm going to be honest with you. Instead of 7, I think it would really help the ratings because the way we look at it is this: we're going to watch the playoffs because it's only one game. You know what I'm saying? There's only
Right.
one game right there because we need to see who wins this one game. If we miss one, oh, we can just check on our phone and then wait another day and see the next one. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Right.
That's how come there's the ratings for NHL and baseball and basketball. Well, basketball is different, obviously, depending on who's playing, but the ratings for them, that's why it's not so. That's why they're not so great. It's because of all those set games, 7 game series. I think personally, I would have loved to see every team do five game series, but then again, there's another side of me that's like, let's keep this traditional. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's been like
Right.
for all our lives. Why change it now? But I mean, that's besides the point. So getting back on the topic, honestly, there's a lot of negatives about this whole article right here. There's a lot of
I
negatives
agree.
about this whole plan. But I mean, hopefully they are able to come up with a permanent plan, and they can make it official as for here on out. So with that being said, I wish the MLB the best of luck in their new system.